Hello and welcome to Family Peer Support Service Provider Employer Training. We're so happy that you can join us today. Montana's Peer Network, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a statewide recovery organization with a mission to lead the expansion and development of recovery-oriented behavioral health services in Montana. We've been doing this since 2011, and we have more than 1,800 members across the state. We do this with training, consultation, advocacy, and demonstration projects. We have 4 divisions. We have the family division, peer support, recovery, and the training division. If you'd like more information about Montana's Peer Network or anything covered in this training, you can visit us at mtpeernetwork.org. So my name is Jim Haney, and I'm the executive director of Montana's Peer Network. I'm a person in long-term recovery, almost 30 years, which is kind of hard to believe. It's been that long already. I started out, I founded the Peer Solutions Drop-In Center in Livingston, Montana, back in 2008. That's how I got my start as a peer supporter. I started Montana's Peer Network again in 2011. In 2012 through 2015, I led the Peer Support Task Force to develop behavioral health peer support in Montana. I've been training and consulting with a contract with the state of Montana for the last 7 years. Montana's Peer Network has been a SAMHSA grantee for the last 9 years. Hired my first peer supporter 14 years ago, and boy, have I learned a lot from those early days. And I'm a nationally recognized consultant for peer support services.
Thanks, Jim. Hi, my name is Beth Ayers. I am the Family Peer Support Lead at Montana's Peer Network. I have lived experience raising children with behavioral health challenges. I have taken the Oregon's Foundations for Family Support Specialist training to become a family peer supporter. I do a lot more besides just family peer support families. I co-chair Montana Peer Network's Family Action Committee. I'm on the Behavioral Health Advisory Committee and chair the Youth and Family subcommittee of that. I facilitated the Family Peer Support Task Force, and I provide family peer support to families at the Children's Clinic.
So I'm Brad Thompson, and I have a master's degree in counseling. I've been a counselor for parents and children for about 25 years. I am also the parent of a child with special needs, which makes this program especially close to my heart because I know personally what the journey with a child like Haley actually feels like. And I just want to be able to create something that supports those families as they do the hard work of walking down this road with their kids. I did create the Empowered Parent Model, which is kind of the basis of this program, and we started that about 20 years ago. We started the Montana Parent Partner Program through a pilot project with the Mountain States Regional Genetics Collaborative over 10 years ago. Now, I've been blessed for the past 5 years to be the lead trainer for the Child Neurology Foundation's Peer Support Program, which has a lot of similar components to what you'll see in the Montana Peer Network. I'm also the Director of Counseling and Family Support for the Turn Center in Amarillo, Texas, which serves about 1,500 families in the Texas Panhandle who have children with special health care needs. So it is my pleasure to get to be a part of this team that brings this to the state of Montana.
So for our provider training series, we have broken it into 6 different parts. Part 1 is going to be foundational thoughts. 2, history. Part 3, we're going to define family peer support and wellness. Part 4, family peer support benefits and value. Part 5, profession and future of family peer support, and we're going to end it with part 6, family peer support and you. So the learning objectives for this training is going to be, what is family peer support and why is it important? We hope that you will be able to describe family peer support to a family or a client. We're going to go over how does family peer support benefit families and providers. We're going to show you just how helpful and meaningful family peer support is, and how can family peer supporters be integrated into a care team. So we're going to talk about how do you get family peer supporter into your clinic or care team.
Just a few foundational thoughts that that we build this program around, and it's not rocket science, but since the beginning of time, parents have wondered if they were doing it right when it comes to raising their children. It doesn't matter if they have special needs or not, right? We're all looking for somebody that we can ask these questions. How did you do it? What did you do when? All of those things, because we have questions about how we raise our kids. And while there are a million parenting books, none of them seem to fit the situation that we find ourselves in. So we're always looking for people who've done it before to point us in the right direction. And for parents of children with special needs, finding people to ask those questions who have a similar experience is even more difficult. And so we created this program to just try to bring people who are a little further down the journey together with parents who are starting their journey, to help them, first of all, just normalize it, to know that everything they're feeling is normal and that it's okay to have all the questions, and bringing them together so that they know that they're not alone. So Val Schilling reviewed 17 studies around the idea of caregiver support, and she found these common themes. First of all, that parents of children with special needs are at risk of physical and psychological health problems, both of which are pervasive and likely to worsen over time. And you wonder why? Well, primarily the reason why is because we ignore the things that are going on in our own lives because the needs of our kids are so great that we just put ourselves over to the side. We're taking care of our kids, and over time, when we're not dealing with our own issues, they tend to get worse. And another thing she found was that the expertise of parents is a fundamental concept in family-centered services. Parents know how to navigate the system because they've had to. They know the right people to talk to. They know the local resources. They know how to get to yes for a service that their children desperately need. And so being able to engage that knowledge in a setting that allows parents to rest and breathe and to have space to hear is incredibly important. The same study found these outcomes for parents who receive peer support. The first is reduced isolation. And why that is so important is because we know that isolation is one of the leading causes of anxiety and depression in all people, but especially parents who have kids with special needs. The second is that when you're engaged with a peer supporter, you get to develop a sense of emotional stability, because the peer supporter gives you the opportunity to offload some of the emotional burden in a judgment-free zone, that we just get to say this to someone who gets it, who won't judge me for being a bad parent or not doing it all right. It's just okay to have these questions and concerns and feelings.
All right, so I'm going to jump in really quickly and talk to you about specifically Montana. So the statistics in Montana is there are 19% of our children have a special health care need, and 31% of those parents raising these kids experience clinical depression, whereas versus only 7% of non-child children with special needs parents. And so what that tells us is that if I have a child and everything's healthy and we're going along fine, that group of people, there would be 7% that would struggle with depression and anxiety. But out of the group of us that are raising kids with special health care needs, that jumps to 31% of depression and anxiety. And that is really what we target with family peer support, is that, like we talked about before, getting that connection, not being so isolated, can help with that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Beth, because that just that statistic alone tells me how vulnerable this population is, and they're not even the identified patient. The identified patient is the child, and yet we know that if caregivers are struggling in their health, the care that they give naturally is probably going to suffer. So there's some key outcomes to peer support. It played a major role, as we've said, in reducing feelings of isolation, which is associated with mental health issues. It is also found to be especially beneficial for 3 hardly reached groups, which I think are really important in rural and frontier states like Montana. And those were individuals with low health literacy, self-efficacy skills, and education levels. This was also powerful for individuals of lower socioeconomic status. And this is where the rural and frontier part really comes in, is individuals who have little social support or isolated geographically. Now, I want to be clear that we're not speaking poorly of any particular group of people. The individuals that we're talking with here and we're trying to help, they love their children as much as anyone does. They will do anything they can, but because of their situation, they don't always know what's available to them to do for their kids. And peer support brings that information to them. It's not going to do it for them. It just brings the information to them. Kelly McGonigal, in her book, The Upside of Stress, defined stress this way. Stress is what happens to you when something you care about is at stake. And so obviously when we're talking about our children, that's something we care about. And when there seems to be an unending list of things to do for them, then you can see where chronic stress becomes very much a part of a caregiver's regular life, daily life. And so what we know from struggle and from study is that stress is most harmful to us when these 3 things are present: that we feel inadequate to handle it, that it has isolated us from others, and that it feels meaningless and against our will. And what I hope you see is, as you learn more about peer support, how that support addresses all 3 of these areas. Studies consistently show that stress is higher for parents of children with disabilities. And I think you just have to know one person to understand why that is. The list of things is long and we never get to the end of it. At the same time, some of these caregivers show greater resilience and an ability to thrive even in the middle of these challenges. And as we study those resilient caregivers, we find some things about them that they have in common. The first is their psychological well-being. They're okay. The second is that they have a supportive partner or intimate relationship. There's someone who's taken the journey with them. The third thing is that they have a positive outlook on their child. They have a positive parent-child relationship. They see blessings in their kiddo. They see strengths as well as the weaknesses. They're not completely focused on the disability, but they also see the gifts of their child.
So some of the effects of peer support on families. This comes from the University of Texas. It's been shown that family peer support increases family engagement. It increases the caregiver's knowledge. It decreases anxiety and family stress. It increases family empowerment, and it increases social resources.
I'm really grateful for that slide, Beth, because it ties together the outcomes and the fruit of peer support, primarily in empowering parents to be their child's best, most healthy advocate. I really love this quote from Henry Nouwen, who is someone I have read a lot from. The friend who can be silent with us in a moment of despair or confusion, who can stay with us in an hour of grief and bereavement, who can tolerate not knowing, not healing, not curing. That is a friend who cares. That's a peer supporter. A peer supporter is a person who will just sit with families when the answer is not known, or in some cases, in kids who have rare conditions, the answer has not been found yet. And so when there's not an answer, peer supporters are trained and able to just sit and be with people and be okay with just being with them as they try to find a way forward. So I love this, and this is an umbrella over the things that we are trying to teach in our support training.
Thank you for watching video 1 of 4 of MPN's Family Peer Support Provider Training. Join us again for video 2.